Welcome back to Connect the World. I'm Hannah Vaughan-Jones, live here outside Buckingham Palace in the heart of London, where it's not quite raining, although now we've said that, the heavens will probably open. It does certainly seem like the end of an era with Britain's Prince Philip deciding to step out of the public spotlight. You'd be hard-pressed to recall a time when the 95-year-old Prince Philip wasn't beside his wife, the Queen, a constant pillar of support through endless engagements, thousands over the last 6 decades. He's earned the hearts of many and the criticism of many others, particularly for his occasional gaffes in full view, often of the public eye. Well, with me now is CNN royal commentator and historian Kate Williams. Kate, good to have you here. Like him or loathe him, he has been a presence for most of us for as long as most of us can remember. So it's going to be a big change, isn't it, in what's going on behind us here at Buckingham Palace?
It is a big change, and we have seen change in the palace since 2012, since the Queen began to give her overseas engagements to the younger royals. We've seen increasing handover, we might say, to the younger royals. But this, I think, is the first real big formal change, that from now on we won't expect to see Prince Philip always at the Queen's side as we have done before. And as you say, they've been married for 70 years. They've married. This year it's their wedding anniversary, 70 years of marriage, the amazing milestone, this great wedding just after World War II, a splash of colour on the hard road we have to travel, said Winston Churchill. So the country has known him as her consort for so long, and we have certainly relied on him being there. And the few times in which, due to illness, he hasn't been at Her Majesty's side, people have found that rather surprising. But that is the new reality now. She'll be accompanied by Prince Charles, or perhaps on her own.
Yeah, because when we have state visits, for example, the Queen can't just be there on her own, walking around with, say, a head of state and his or her partner. She will need to be accompanied. So step forward, Charles. This is his, he's nearly 70 as well, so this is his sort of grooming, I suppose, for the throne.
We have a state visit coming that Prince Philip will still be doing the engagements for. We have the King and Queen of Spain are coming in a 3-day visit, so Charles that'll be the last consort that Charles will conduct in the official sense. From then onwards, it may be William conducting the consort, it may be, of course, Prince Harry, it may be the Duchess of Cambridge, but certainly if Mr. Trump comes to visit United Kingdom, as we think he will in October, it probably will be the case that Mrs. Trump will be escorted by Prince Charles or possibly Prince William. Prince Philip will no longer be always there by the Queen's side. He is going to be there as an informal, who sometimes come. We will be seeing him around, but we can't expect it.
What does it mean for the Queen's future? Is there any plan in place for her to perhaps hand over the throne to her son, or will she just keep going to the bitter end?
Well, the Queen has said, I will never abdicate. She said it's a job for life. I am never stopping. For her, it's a job given to her by God. Many of the European royals have abdicated for their sons, just as you might retire from a job and hand over to the next CEO coming up. But she says it's a job for life. She's keeping it, as you say, to the bitter end. And certainly her uncle, Edward VIII, abdicated to marry Mrs. Wallis-Simpson, and that was, she saw as a dereliction of duty. She'll never do it. What we will see is a gradual handing over. We've seen the foreign travel handing over, short and long haul, and we will increasingly see more of the British duties. But at the moment, the duties that she really wants to conserve for herself include meeting the Prime Minister. She met the Prime Minister yesterday to dissolve Parliament, opening Parliament and going through the red boxes. So those will be the last duties she will hand over, the Prime Ministerial meetings and the going through the official red boxes of official British papers. Those will be the last to go.
Prince Philip himself, he is the patron ambassador of hundreds and hundreds of organisations, not just here in the UK but around the world as well. If he's stepping back from public life and stepping back from his official duties, does that mean he's stepping aside from all of those organisations which so rely on him?
He is the patron, as you say, to about 800 organisations. It's a baffling amount for so many of us. He is actually going to continue as patron to these organisations, but he will not be always present at their receptions and their meetings, but his role as patron will be continued. And when you look at what he'll be doing over the few months before he does take his well-earned retirement, it's an amazing amount of things he's doing, as he calls himself the most experienced plaque unveiler in the world. He also, there's the Duke of Edinburgh Award, an award for young people in Britain in which they can engage in sport and craft and community service. He's already having a dinner for one of those. He will continue with the Duke of Edinburgh Award, it bears his name. He'll continue with his charities, but it will be a stepping back, and certainly these charities will hope to see other royals coming at times to see them.
Never explain, never complain, one of the things that many of the royals have stood by. Prince Philip, not necessarily one of them who has stood by that over the years. He is known for several of his gaffes. You mentioned one of them just then. He's going to be sorely missed.
He does say, he does call a spade, we might formally say, and some of his gaffes have been seen over the years as verging on the offensive, and some have been harmless and funny. But certainly what we do know of Prince Philip is that he is a man who is devoted to the Queen, he's devoted to duty, but sometimes the formality, the very slowness of royal duties can make him impatient. One of my favourite gaffes is in 2000 when he said, he was in Canada and he said, I declare this thing open, whatever it is. He just, because he was so used to opening things, he just had no idea what it was. So he does get a little bit impatient, and he has been impatient with photographers, with reporters in the past, but certainly under his gaffes, it's his attempt, although he says I'm a rather rude person, he has admitted it, it is his attempt to put people at ease, because when people meet the Queen, they panic, they freeze. I've seen it happen, they just can't think of anything to say. It's sort of a bit like something out of Frozen, everyone's so nervous, but he wants to try and put people at their ease. Normally his jokes are so funny, they immediately lighten the mood, but sometimes they can be a bit off colour.
A phenomenal amount of service, though, 6 decades, 65 years, and as you said earlier, Kate, 70 years of marriage in November, I think.
Absolutely
to the Queen
amazing,
and Prince Philip. Kate, thanks very much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. You are watching Connect the World live from London, live from Buckingham Palace.